Before we even begin, I just want to say how grateful I am to be here today. I've not been to a lot of conferences, obviously. I'm still really young, but to be in a room of really powerful and influential women that have so much to say and are not afraid to say it has really inspired myself to say things that I wouldn't normally say or things that are outside of my comfort zone. So I kind of just want everyone to give a round of applause for not only the speakers but for themselves as well. Good evening, everyone. Our names are Joy, Julia, Adobea, Ingrid, Cheska, and Julianne. We are part of the youth ambassadors from Urbond. As we know, Urbond strives to advance racial harmony, equality, and diversity, which we are living testimonies for. As for on this stage, we have 6 beautiful young people representing 6 different countries, as well as, of course, England. Not only do we want to tell our stories, but we also want to assimilate one fact to you. No matter our differences, whether in culture, language, or interests, we all encounter hardships in our lives. But it's how we recover and how we support each other that matters most.
Hi, I'm Julia. I've always been a highly ambitious person, particularly within academics. However, growing up in England with English as my second language posed some challenges, especially in school. Public speaking often felt daunting, which was particularly hard to work on due to the judgment and pressures surrounding how a woman should present herself in public. We grew up surrounded by misogynistic comments, limiting the role of women to being quiet, obedient accessories to men, and were discouraged from taking steps towards personal development. Despite this, I actively sought out leadership opportunities, particularly motivated by the chance to defy these stereotypes, suggesting that women are too emotional or incapable of effective leadership. These stereotypes aren't confined to academic or professional environments. They extend into sports as well. As a gymnast, I've experienced firsthand the misconceptions surrounding women's athletics. Gymnastics is often categorised and dismissed as a feminine sport, and this is unfairly perceived as less challenging than its male counterpart. These types of assumptions not only undermine the dedication of skilled female athletes, but they also discourage young girls from pursuing their passions out of fear of judgment. As a coach, I've witnessed the transformative impact of sports on people's physical, mental, and social well-being. It's disheartening to think these benefits aren't accessible to all people purely due to lingering preconceptions. Every individual, regardless of gender or interests, deserves the opportunity to participate in sports without fear of discrimination or judgment. At Urbond, we are dedicated to reshaping our local community into an inclusive and supportive environment where women feel empowered to pursue their dreams, whether this is academic, professional, or athletic. By challenging stereotypes and fostering acceptance, we aim to ensure that everyone has a chance to follow their passions. Our mission as youth ambassadors is to create a safe space where young women can thrive and excel, free from judgment or prejudice. Thank you.
Growing up as a black girl in a predominantly white area was extremely difficult. Being bombarded with doubts made me feel lonely and out of place. And although I was lucky enough to have a black community whenever I went to church, those feelings did not dissipate. At school, I was one of 3 black girls in my class over the past 12 school years. I was faced with prejudice and racism from people I considered friends and others who were not. Furthermore, being black and a woman, people were not afraid to extend their colourful vocabulary, whether it be for the colour of my skin or my gender. I was blessed to have such loving parents who never allowed my self-worth to falter as a result of the thoughtless and harmful words of others. However, I would be lying if I didn't say it didn't affect me to an extent. Although my life has barely begun, I endeavour for our young girls to have a positive upbringing and growth of character, in order to challenge the expectations and prove the motto, whatever boys can do, girls can do better. I am currently a semi-professional athlete, playing for the Under-18s Harlequins Rugby Centre of Excellence, as well as Havant Rugby Club and the Peter Simmons Rugby in Richmond. Despite going through a multitude of sports since I was young, such as ballet, swimming, street dance, hockey, I could go on, rugby is the only sport I've never gotten tired of. However, playing rugby as a woman requires unwavering mental strength. Since beginning rugby 2 years ago, hearing comments such as girls can't play rugby, they can't tackle properly, or women's rugby isn't as entertaining as men's rugby had never really affected me because I knew the ability and capability of the women around me was of high class. However, there was always one comment that always irked me: girls have it easier. Women have always been discredited and underplayed for the grit, determination, and resilience we possess, just because we are girls. As a woman in sport, it sometimes feels like my efforts will never be credited nor appreciated by a certain demographic of men and women who believe rugby isn't a women's sport. However, I also know that I myself was inspired by women who've been put down, dismissed, and disregarded, but every single time they chose to stand up and prove them wrong. In the last Women's Six Nations match of England versus France, 58,598 people chose to support women's rugby in real life alone. Imagine the thousands of other international viewers watching on their screens, the families tuning in together at home, and the people driving listening to the radio recount of the match. World Rugby statistics states that just over a quarter of all registered players are women, which is a 28% increase since 2017. We should never be ridiculed or mocked for our interests and hobbies, but most importantly, we cannot allow them to stop us from doing what we love. The milestones we've achieved in this decade alone speak for themselves, and it's crucial that we improve and grow, step by step, level by level, so the subsequent generations of young girls are not scared of enjoying and embracing what makes them happy. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Adobea. I would like to begin by expressing how grateful I am to have been invited to speak today at this recognizing such amazing, empowering and strong women, and how important your presence here is to me, as representation truly does matter. I am from Ghana, a stunning country in West Africa. But unfortunately, it is strongly ingrained with patriarchal attitudes and philosophies. I am the middle child and the only daughter in my extremely traditional Ghanaian household, and I was often told that as a girl, I had to cook and clean. Why? Well, simply because I'm a girl. That's it. My future is already determined by parts of me I have no control over. Do I blame my parents for having such views? No, I blame society for holding such attitudes and polluting our minds into believing that it's acceptable to label and silence women with statements such as, "That's not very ladylike," "Act like a girl," or even, "Don't be such a girl." But what's wrong with being a girl? Through my years in secondary school, I asked myself the same question over and over again. This soon developed into, what's wrong with being a black girl? Absolutely nothing. It's not me, it's not my fault, it's society's, for normalizing and passing on such disgusting views from generation to generation. Nelson Mandela said, "You can start changing our world for the better daily, no matter how small the action." Therefore, as the youth ambassador, I intend to use this platform and bring about change, whether big or small. Did you know that the word hysteria, meaning intense or uncontrollable emotion, is derived from the Greek word meaning hystera? Greek word hystera, meaning uterus? How ironic. How are we going to get anywhere if we haven't even reached the starting line? Women make 16% less than men. According to Forbes, for every 84 pennies that a woman makes, a man makes a whole pound. This may not sound like much, but this is 2024. There shouldn't be a gender pay gap at all. Women should be paid equally to men and should have equal opportunities to men. Urban provided me with work experience with the NIHR and Richmond Motor Group, which not only helped me develop lifelong skills, but also gave me a taste of possible careers and allowed me to explore my curiosity, which would have been difficult to do otherwise as a young black girl. As a member of the Opportunities Campaign, I intend to encourage more women to acquire work experience through this program, allowing them to compete equally with men and overcome preconceptions, making sure they're at the starting line. I would like to end with a lyric from Tupac that deeply resonates with me. I think it's time to kill for our women, time to heal our women, be real to our women, and if we don't, we'll have a race of babies that will hate the ladies that make the babies. And since a man can't make one, he has no right to tell a woman when and where to create one. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone, my name is Ingrid. Do you think you have a safe space? For many women out there, the answer is no. But before I get into that, let me tell you a little bit about myself. Growing up, I moved around a lot, from country to country. I can say that most of my childhood, I was trying my best to find a place to fit in. I attended 4 different primary schools and I had to wait almost the entire 3rd year of school on a waiting list. This was because no schools had a free place for me, and the only one that did was extremely far, for not only me, but for my parents too. We decided that we had no other choice but to enroll me into that school, and I was accepted. My mother and I had to take 3 buses every day just so I could get to school. And despite finally being able to go to school, I felt like an outsider. English was my 3rd language, and I struggled a lot learning. The other children didn't help my self-esteem either. They would make jokes and giggle when I pronounced words incorrectly. The only safe space for me was home. A safe space, right? You would think that home was a safe space. For me it was. However, I was 8 at the time. I liked going home to play Minecraft. I still do. But now there's a whole nother world that I've been introduced to, social media. Social media can be an amazing place to chat with friends, discover new hobbies, keep up with upcoming trends, and play games. But for women and young girls, social media can be a dangerous environment. It creates standards that we feel obliged to fit into. Beauty standards, cultural standards, manneristic standards, and so many more. Not only are women judged on absolutely everything we do, we also start to doubt ourselves. I'm going to be honest, sometimes even I would look at Instagram models and ask, why can't I be more like her? It's so dangerous and concerning to see such young girls and women looking at themselves and wonder why they cannot fit a standard. I'm sure we all remember Gloria's speech from the Barbie movie where she says, you have to be thin but not too thin, and you can never say you want to be thin, and she goes on and on. I look back and I'm glad that I experienced things whilst I was still a bit younger, because in this generation, women and young girls cannot even be part of something they're supposed to be positive, such as social media, without feeling some sort of pressure. So let me link back to my original question. Do you think you have a safe space? And more specifically, does social media have a positive impact on you or negative? Thank you for listening.
Have you ever considered the glaring disparity between the salaries of an NBA and a WNBA player? While the average NBA player earns millions, their WNBA counterparts struggle to make even 1% of that. Ironic, isn't it? This isn't just about sports. It reflects broader inequalities in our society. Before we delve deeper, allow me to introduce myself. Hello, everyone. I'm Cheska, a Filipina A-level student passionate about economics and aspiring to enter the financial industry. Despite societal stereotypes, I've embraced my love for sports, particularly basketball, breaking barriers imposed by gender norms. From a young age, I encountered firsthand the prevailing stereotypes that boys are better than girls. Whether in media, school, or everyday life, this notion was ever present. However, I refused to succumb to it. Despite my parents' traditional beliefs, I pursued my passion, challenging societal expectations every step of the way. Navigating through a male-dominated environment such as basketball wasn't easy. Joining a girls' club for my DOV award, I found myself coaching rather than playing due to the lack of female peers. This encouraged me to join Arbonne's basketball team, where I was often the only girl. Despite objections from my parents, I persisted, driven by passion, the desire to challenge gender norms, and working to inspire young women around me to follow their passions too. Experiencing these situations opened my eyes to the broader reality of gender inequality. This is mirrored in a multitude of fields, especially in industries like finance, where women are underrepresented and undervalued. For example, in the UK finance sector alone, only 35% of employees are female, earning significantly less than their male counterparts. But at Arbonne, we refuse to accept this. We aspire to be a catalyst for change, advocating for gender equality in pay and challenging stereotypes that limit our potential. Just as Barbie took on every job and Mulan saved her country, we too can defy expectations and shape a more equitable world. I believe that every woman deserves the chance to follow her passions, and with Arbonne, I will work to facilitate this in the hopes of a brighter future. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Julianne. Whilst growing up, I have encountered numerous challenges and dealt with plenty of obstacles along the way due to my gender and my ethnicity. The stereotypes surrounding me really did aid the hardships that I was presented with. And growing up with those stereotypes at such a young age, I began to encapsulate myself with what I thought I was supposed to be. I feel that people seem to forget that these stereotypes are just dogmatic ideas where men and women of all genders were arbitrarily assigned characteristics and roles determined by their sex or their ethnicity. So really what I'm trying to say is that they aren't real. You can do whatever you desire, and the stereotypes shouldn't limit you as a person. So as I continue to grow, I recognize the importance of self-worth, and I believe that personal worth is determined by the societal expectations imposed upon you. Living in a foreign household, there were countless expectations enforced upon me. My mum always told me that as an Asian woman, I had to work twice as hard to be considered equal to a white woman, and even harder to be considered equal to a white man. And I know I'm not the only one who has heard words like those before, but when you think about them, it's wild. It's wild how it perfectly recognizes that different individuals will experience different unique forms of discrimination based on their identities. It's wild how what our mothers went through is the reason why these words are being passed down to the younger generations. And it's wild how these expectations are such things such as becoming doctors, lawyers, and engineers. And I know in most Asian households, the children are expected to do whatever the parent wants. And of course, there's nothing wrong with being achievement-oriented. However, the pressure to meet these expectations did place a mental burden on them. Now, I love my mother, but she was exactly the same. She had me doing past papers for SATs. Then when I got to secondary, for year 7 and 8, I don't remember doing anything but swimming and studying. And both of these I did intensely because that was only what was expected of me. I had spent my life doing what my mum expected of me to do, to the point that I lost myself in the process. As I got much older, I found everything much more difficult, especially in education. I was struggling to even achieve high grades, and I no longer enjoyed swimming since it felt like a chore rather than a hobby. I didn't have a desire to be a doctor, lawyer, or an engineer, and at this point, my self-esteem was incredibly low, and I definitely cried a lot because of maths. I saw all my friends were performing remarkably well, and I couldn't even keep up. But that brings me to now, and I won't lie, sometimes I am still feeling the same way. But you shouldn't compare yourself to others because everyone is bound to move at their own pace. And you learn that you're in control of your own life. So through perseverance and dedication, anyone is capable of surpassing their perceived limitations because progress doesn't just happen like that. It takes time. And in the end, it will work out for you regardless of your gender or your ethnicity. I met Arbonne 2 years ago through volleyball, and Arbonne is one of the best things that has happened to me. When I quit swimming, I really wanted to try out a team sport, and volleyball was what caught my interest the most. When I first joined, there wasn't even a separate girls or a separate boys under 16 session because there was only about 3 girls and 8 boys. Whereas now, there are separate sessions with the under-18s girls reaching numbers of 40 girls. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this community because with Urbond, gradually I've been happier and healthier and able to express myself through the various opportunities such as this one today. Thank you.
And so to conclude, there are a plethora of young girls that want to become doctors, engineers, authors, lawyers, and countless other professions for which Urbond can provide the work experience necessary for our generation and subsequent generations of women to achieve those goals. This upcoming year, we strive to have at least 50% of young women to have a form of work experience or an insight into the world of work, putting them into a position of power or giving them an advantageous edge when entering the workforce. The Health and Wellbeing campaign in this previous quarter focused on the importance of mental health, which is significant within our young people, and young girls, as Ingrid previously mentioned. Ensuring they have a safe place within and away from social media is important for them to flourish and thrive in this new day and age. The Equality and Diversity campaign during this quarter aspires to work with the Deaf Centre to also provide a safe environment for young girls with health conditions and impairments, to ensure that every girl has an equal chance of success, no matter the path they choose. As youth ambassadors, we advocate for the inclusion and protection of all women, as well as the celebration of how much we've really achieved in this century alone. Let's continue to support one another, stand against discrimination, and grow stronger together. Thank you so much for listening.
That brings us to the end. Thank you so much, youth ambassadors. You did amazing.